Assalamu alaikum students. Today we are taking start of our new chapter, that is chemical coordination. Right. That is basically our chapter number 18. And now first of all we have to move towards the chemical coordination. So we have to define the chemical coordination. Now it's a type of coordination which is present between the cells of different organs within the body of multicellular organism. What is coordination? Generally, when we define the word coordination, so it means integration, cooperation, or to have contact with each other. Now, over here, what is chemical coordination? As we are taking it while in the human body, so it's a type of coordination which is present between the cell of different organs within the body of multicellular organism. Now it's the kind of coordination, a group of cell which releases specific chemicals, and these chemicals they are basically called as hormones, which regulates the activities of all cells of the body. Now if we see over here, chemical coordination is the second largest coordinating system in our body, while the first largest one is the nervous coordination. Okay. Now after that, as the chemical coordination, it's bringing about coordination in different parts of the body and cells through chemicals which are called as hormones. So the secretion of these chemicals which are called as hormone, it occurs through endocrine system, which consists of several glands. Let's see what's endocrine system. Now the endocrine system is made up of glands and organs that make hormones that control many important functions in the body. So it means like the chemical which are secreted for chemical coordination in our body, the secretion of that is basically by the endocrine system. Now why there is a need for chemical coordination? The cellular function, it needs to be continuously regulated. That's why we need chemical coordination. Besides this, the nerve fiber, they do not innervate or reach or penetrate to all the cells of the body, so a special kind of coordination system is thus required. The endocrine system itself, the role to coordinate or integrate most of the body cells. The hormonal system, it's basically concerned with the control of different metabolic functions of the body, such as the rate of chemical reactions, which is very much important. Besides this, the transport of substances through the cell membranes, growth and secretions as well. The coordination, this type of coordination is called as chemical coordination. So that's why we need chemical coordination. The first one is to bring about the continuous regulation. Besides this, as we know that the nerve fiber, it can't innervate or reach to each and every cell, so that's why for the proper integration there is also a need for coordination. So after the nervous coordination, chemical coordination is the second largest coordinating system in our body, which is basically helping the first one, that is the nervous coordination, right? Now, as we know that hormones are the chemical messenger, they are the main tool of chemical coordination. So that's why we have to define the chemical messenger or hormones as well. Okay. Now, what is hormone? A regulatory substance which is produced in an organism and transported in tissue fluids such as blood to stimulate special cells or tissue into action, right? That is basically these chemicals, they are bringing about what? The stimulation of particular targeted cells, and now these messenger, they are poured or directly secreted into the blood. Okay. Now we are saying the secretion of these chemical, it occurs by gland. So for that very purpose, we must define the gland as well. That what is gland? Now, a gland is an organ which produces and releases substances that perform a specific function in the body. Yes, we can say gland is also, we can say sometimes individual cells are aggregation of cells or organs which produce their secretion, and they can perform specific tasks by stimulating the targeted cells. The glands, they are the structure. Second definition, the glands, they are the structure that are made up of one or more cells, right? If you see over here, one or more cells that make and release some products which is called as its secretion, which is basically called as the secretion. Now we would be moving towards that on the basis of secretion which it produces. And beside this, where the medium in which it is then poured, we can classify the glands into three main types. That is endocrine glands, exocrine glands, and heterocrine glands. Though the major one are endocrine and exocrine gland basically. Okay. But first we have to move towards the endocrine gland. Okay. Endocrine glands, these are endo mean within, crine mean to secrete. So these are ductless glands. And the secretion of endocrine glands, they are called as hormones. They produce the hormones and secreted by the exocytosis directly into the what? Directly into the extracellular spaces. And then through the blood they just come towards the targeted cells. From there, the hormone enters the blood. If you see over here, our lymphatic fluid and travel to specific target site. Okay, so it means if we want to study the roots, the first one, the endocrine gland, it will just secrete its secretion, which is basically hormone or the chemical messengers. Then these chemical messenger, they will come out through exocytosis directly into the extracellular spaces and then directly getting entered into the blood or lymph. So through the circulatory fluid, it just reach to each and every cell of the body. But over here, the response would be given only by the targeted cells because they would be having specific receptor site for these specific hormones. For example, thyroid gland and parathyroid gland, they are the example of what? Endocrine gland. Why? Because they are pouring their secretion directly into the bloodstream, right? And then it's reaching towards the targeted cells. Now, after that, we are moving towards the next category of gland, which is called as exocrine gland. Exo mean outside, crine mean to secrete. Exocrine gland, they secrete their product onto the target surface directly or through the ducts. Okay. Sometimes they are pouring their secretion onto the surface and sometimes through special channels which are called as the ducts. For example, liver, salivary glands, sweat gland, anterior glands, they have ducts. The unicellular goblet cells, they are unicellular mucus secreting cells. On the other hand, directly release mucin. Mucin is a protein when it just combined with water, so they form the mucus onto the target surface by exocytosis. Now, heterocrine gland. Heterocrine, that's a sort of combination of endocrine as well as exocrine, or we can say which are having exocrine as well as endocrine function, or exocrine as well as endocrine part. And the best example of that is pancreas. If we see over here in pancreas, you can see these are called as pancreatic acini, acini single ascus. You can see these are pancreatic acini. They are concerned with the secretion of what? They are concerned with the secretion of pancreatic juices. And the pancreatic juices, they come to the duodenum through pancreatic duct. Okay, if you see over here, that is the exocrine part of the pancreas. That is pancreatic acini. They are exocrine in nature. While when we move towards the inner, you just see over here these cells. You can see islet of Langerhans. Islet, you can see over here, this whole is called as islet of Langerhans. It's having alpha cells, it's having beta cells, and beside this, it's having delta cells as well. You can see alpha cells, you can see the beta cells while in the diagram, and beside this, the delta cells as well. All these cells, they are endocrine in nature. Why? Because they are concerned with the secretion of hormones. Now let's see which type of hormone. Okay, alpha cells, they are concerned with the secretion of glucagon, which is a hormone, which is basically bringing about the conversion of what? The conversion of glycogen into free glucose. Beside this, the beta cells, which are bringing about what? Which are bringing about beta cell, they're concerned with this secretion of insulin, and they're bringing about the conversion of free glucose into glycogen. Okay, like its function is just quite antagonistic to that of the what? Glucagon are the alpha cells. Okay. Then next one is delta cell, which is concerned with the secretion of somatostatin, which is also secreted by several endocrine cells. Okay. So now over here, why it's called as heterocrine? Because it's having endocrine part as well as an exocrine part. So that's why, due to which it's called as heterocrine gland as well. So that's why we are saying pancreas is the best example of heterocrine gland, right? Now we have to know the chemical nature of hormones. What are the chemical nature of hormones? If hormones, they are chemical messengers, so whether they are protein, whether they are lipids, whether they are amino acid or peptides, what is their nature? Let's see. But for that very purpose, first we have to define the hormone again as well. Hormones, they are chemical substances that act like messenger molecule in the body. After being made in one part of the body, they travel to the other part of the body where they help to control how the cells and organs do their work. We can say that they are produced in one part of the body and then they act on another part of the body. Let's see, for example, insulin, which is produced by the beta cells while in the pancreas. Beta cells which are lying while in the islet of Langerhans, which is the endocrine part of the pancreas, is producing what? Insulin. And that insulin is just bringing about what? The conversion of free glucose into glycogen, and the glycogen is basically stored over there while in the liver. Okay. Now, nature on the basis of composition. Chemically, hormone, they are of three basic types. That is the steroid hormone, amino acid are their derivatives, and beside this the protein are peptides. Now, first one, steroid hormones. These are the derivatives of cholesterol, means that they have been derived from the cholesterol. And they are secreted by, like if you see over here, different steroid hormones they are secreted by. Let's see which. The adrenal cortex. I have just downloaded one of the diagram for you. Like this is the whole adrenal gland. You can see over here, this is the adrenal gland. The adrenal gland is having an outer region which is called as cortex. And the inner region which is called as the medulla. Like this is the inner region which is medulla. यानी अगर हम इसको देखें तो जो outer इसकी portion है pinkish color की which you can see, this is called as adrenal cortex. Meaning कि adrenal gland है ये, लेकिन इसकी जो outer portion है, or the inner one is called as adrenal medulla. It means the inner portion of the adrenal gland. Let's see. Okay, so the adrenal cortex, it is secreting which type of hormone? That is cortisol. Cortisol, if we see, that is basically, if we just consider it glucocorticoid, glucocorticoid is basically the hormone. It is also called as stress hormone, and it is also called as anti-inflammatory hormone. And beside this, aldosterone, that is also, we are saying special type of hormone, and that both of these are steroid in nature, and these are secreted by the adrenal cortex. That's the outer region of the adrenal gland. Now the ovaries, they are just secreting estrogen and progesterone. Ovaries and testes, they are dual in nature. It means that they are cytogenic as well as endocrinic in nature. Cytogenic in the sense that they are concerned with the production of male and female, the male and female, if we consider that is cells, germ cells. Ovary, that's producing oocyte, while testis, it's producing sperm. So if we see this nature is called as cytogenic when we talk about the endocrinic, so it means that they are also concerned with the secretion of hormone. For example, the ovary is secreting estrogen and progesterone, while the testis is secreting the testosterone. Okay. Beside this, the placenta, which is not like, which is produced only while when the female is has conceived, and there is a strong development or connection between the fetus and the mother, which is called as the placenta. So it's a transitory structure and which is developing while during pregnancy, and that is also concerned with the production of estrogen and progesterone. Beside this, the human chorionic gonadotropic hormone is also secreted by the placenta. But over here, estrogen and progesterone, it's also produced by the placenta. So the nature of all these hormones is basically what? That is steroid, right? Okay. Then the next category is derivatives of amino acid. tyrosine. We just discussed that some of the hormone may be they may be either we can say derivatives of cholesterol, some may be the derivatives of amino acids. So let's see what are those hormones which are derivatives of amino acid, and over here especially tyrosine. The two group of hormones, they are derivatives, mean they have been derived या derive किए गए हैं इस amino acid tyrosine से. Let's see कौन कौन से. The metabolic hormones, that is the thyroxine and triiodothyronine from the thyroid gland, they are basically derivatives of this tyrosine. These hormones, they are of prime importance. Let's see, we would be studying importance while in the upcoming lecture. Let's see. Then the next one is epinephrine and norepinephrine. Epinephrine and norepinephrine, which is secreted by the adrenal medulla. That is the inner portion of the adrenal gland you see over here. So these are basically also derivatives of what? These are also derivatives of amino acid. Now epinephrine and norepinephrine are adrenaline and noradrenaline from the adrenal medulla, are all derived from the amino acid tyrosine. Okay, epinephrine and norepinephrine, these are called as stress hormone. These are also called as fight, fright, and flight hormone. Let's see. Okay, then those hormones which are proteins are peptides in nature. So let's see what are these. Many important endocrine hormones, they are proteins. Peptides are, we are saying, immediate derivatives of these. Growth hormone and prolactin. Prolactin, which is produced by the anterior pituitary, and the cells in the anterior pituitary which is concerned with the prolactin, these are called as lactotroph cells. And the prolactin is also called as lactogenic hormone. Why? Because it's concerned with the production of milk in the mammary gland. Okay, growth hormone is also secreted by the anterior pituitary. The anterior pituitary is also called as adenohypophysis, and the master gland as well. So we are saying growth hormone and prolactin, these are produced by the anterior pituitary. They are secreted by the anterior pituitary and also produced by the anterior pituitary. And they are basically protein, while antidiuretic hormone and oxytocin, they are peptides of 9 amino acid each. Antidiuretic hormone and oxytocin, they are produced by the posterior pituitary, are neurohypophysis. They are peptides of 9 amino acid each. Besides this, insulin, which is produced by the beta cells of the pancreas, and glucagon, which is produced by the alpha cells of the pancreas, both of which are basically present over there, while in the islet of Langerhans, mean the endocrine part of the pancreas. And besides this, they are saying the parathormone. Parathormone, they are released by the parathyroid gland. The parathyroid gland, they are 4 in number and are lying over the surface of the thyroid gland. They are the large polypeptides. So if you see over here, some are basically amino acid in nature, while still some other, they are polypeptide chain in nature. Let's see. After that, we have to define that what is the endocrine system of man, because over here our main concern is that chemical coordination is brought about by a very important system which is called as endocrine system, right? So what is endocrine system? Endocrine system is a type of glandular system which consists of some 20 ductless glands lying in different parts of the body. Many glands, they make up the endocrine system. Let's see some of which are given over here. For example, the hypothalamus is also glandular in nature as well. Besides this, the pituitary gland, and then the pineal gland, which is also present over in our brain. Besides this, the thyroid and parathyroid gland, which are lying in our neck region. The thymus, which is lying between our lungs. Besides this, the thymus gland is pinkish in color and larger in size while in youngster, while when in old age, when we are moving towards the aging, so we are saying then its color is getting yellowish, and besides its size also decreasing. The adrenal glands, the adrenals, they are lying on the top of our kidneys. And these are adrenal glands which are lying on the top of our kidney, which are further divided into adrenal cortex and adrenal medulla. Besides the pancreas, The pancreas is also having the endocrine part, which is the islet of Langerhans, in which the alpha, beta, and delta cells are over there, and they are concerned with the secretion of different types of hormone that's lying behind our stomach. Okay. Now, after that, we are moving towards our main gland, which is called as the pituitary gland. Let's see. First, we have to define the pituitary. The pituitary gland is a small pea-sized gland that plays a major role while in regulating vital body functions and general well-being of organism. Let's see. First of all, we have to talk about the location where it's located. Pituitary gland is located in the brain under the hypothalamus. Let's see over here. We are saying that this is the hypothalamus and this is the pituitary. So it's lying just below the hypothalamus. Let's see. This is the hypothalamus and this is the pituitary. So that's why it's lying just below the hypothalamus, right? Color is grayish in color, red-gray in color. And beside this, about the size of a pea, its size when we talk about, and its weight is about 0.5 gram. Attachment to the hypothalamus, it's by a stalk which is called as the infundibulum. You can see this infundibulum, which is a stalk. Beside this parts, it's divided into three lobes. That's the anterior, posterior, and the median. The anterior is adenohypophysis, the posterior is neurohypophysis, and the median is pars intermedia. Okay. Let's see, this is basically the pituitary, which is posterior pituitary. This is the anterior pituitary, and this median is lying just between the two. You can see it's in the form of the epithelial membrane. Okay, then. Now the anterior lobe of the pituitary are the master. Why? Because it's mainly concerned with the secretion of a lot of hormone. Okay, classically, the anterior pituitary is considered the master gland of the endocrine system because it secretes numerous hormones, many of which regulate the activity of other endocrine glands. So it means like it's also tropic in function. The anterior pituitary is by far the largest part of the gland and is responsible for the synthesis and release of most of the pituitary hormones, with the exception of oxytocin and antidiuretic hormone, which are released by the posterior pituitary. Let's see what are the secretion of the anterior pituitary. Are the master gland. The anterior pituitary secretes 6 hormones, each with a distinct function and target organ. Let's see. For example, the growth hormone or somatotropin hormone. Okay, over here we just want to see growth hormone or somatotropic hormone. Beside this, thyroid stimulating hormone and adrenocorticotropic hormone. Beside this, the follicle stimulating hormones, luteinizing hormones, and prolactin. These are basically secreted by the anterior pituitary. Some of these hormones, they are tropic in nature. Tropic hormone, they are those hormones which are concerned with such a situation that they are secreted by the one endocrine gland and then they stimulate another endocrine gland. For example, अगर हम यहाँ पे ले लें, that is thyroid stimulating hormone. Thyroid stimulating hormone is secreted by one of the endocrine gland which is called as the anterior pituitary. Or this thyroid stimulating hormone will come and will activate or will knock another endocrine gland which is called as thyroid gland, which is lying within the neck region. तो इस तरह की relationship में कि जिसमें एक हार्मोन दूसरे एंडोक्राइन ग्लैंड को जाके स्टिमुलेट करता है और उससे हार्मोन रिलीज हो जाए, तो इस इफेक्ट को हम कहते हैं ट्रॉपिक इफेक्ट. तो दैट्स व्हाई इफ यू सी ओवर हियर, thyroid stimulating hormone, they are doing what? They are secreted by the anterior pituitary, then they are knocking the thyroid gland, which is also one of the endocrine gland, and then after that, that is secreting what? Thyroxine, which is basically the main secretion of the thyroid gland. Okay. Non-tropic hormone, they are those hormones which are just getting released from the endocrine gland, just coming into the blood and directly reaching to the target site without involving another endocrine gland. Okay. Growth hormone. Okay, first of all, we are taking the secretion of growth hormone. Growth hormone is also called a somatotropin hormone. As we know that growth hormone, they are also known as human growth hormone, It is synthesized and secreted by the anterior pituitary cells, which are called as somatotroph cells, which are lying wall within the anterior pituitary, which releases between 1 and 2 milligrams of the hormone each day, and its level is rise progressively during childhood and peak during the growth spurts that occur while in puberty. Okay, if you see over here, we discuss that the cells which are concerned with the secretion of somatotropin hormone, these are lying within the anterior pituitary, and their name is somatotrop cells. Beside this, the secretion, it releases between 1 and 2 milligrams of hormone each day. And you can see its level, it rises progressively during childhood and peak during the growth spurt that occur while in puberty. Okay, what are the functions? General function when we talk about. It's bring about general growth, it's bring about cell reproduction, beside this cell regeneration as well, general development as well. It also has a direct effect on the growth and development of all type of cell body, particularly skeleton, and beside this the skeletal muscles during childhood and adolescence as well. Growth hormones stimulate cells growth and cell division as well. Beside this, it also stimulates the uptake of amino acid into the cells and increases the rate of protein synthesis. Okay. Then, if the abnormalities occur due to growth hormones, so they may be due to oversecretion or undersecretion. If the undersecretion of the growth hormone occur, so again the abnormality may be, or if the oversecretion occur, let's see what are these. Undersecretion. Undersecretion of the growth hormone, it is causing what? Deficiency of growth hormone, it results in dwarfism. Dwarfism. The development is much lower and slower, and individual has short stature. छोटे कद का रह जाता है ऐसा individual. However, the body parts, they stay in proportion, and brain development and IQ, they are unaffected. जी, अगर हम देखें तो ऐसे शॉर्ट स्टेचर के जो इंडिविजुअल होते हैं, उनका ओवरऑल कद छोटा होता है. जिस तरह उनका कद छोटा होता है तो उनके हाथ पांव और बाकी जो फॉर एग्जांपल बॉडी पार्ट्स हैं वो भी प्रोपोर्शनेट रेट में छोटे छोटे होते हैं, लेकिन आईक्यू लेवल जो है वो अफेक्टेड नहीं होता. आईक्यू लेवल नॉर्मल इंडिविजुअल की तरह ही होता है. जी. ओवर सिक्रेशन. Oversecretion, if it occurs, oversecretion of the growth hormone occurs, so it leads to gigantism. Or gigantism, it resulted by the oversecretion of the growth hormone during childhood. जी, जिसको हम कहते हैं कि बहुत ही ज्यादा दराज कद का. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अगर आपको याद होगा आलम चन्ना, जी, वो भी बहुत दराज कद के थे, और हम कहते हैं कि that situation was called as gigantism. As the bone they are still capable of growth, person become a giant, mean के बहुत ज़्यादा दराज कद का हो जाता है. Over secretion of the growth hormone in adult life, it causes acromegaly. Acro mean termina, megaly mean enlargement. So the bones, they are no longer capable of increasing in length but grow in thickness. जी, कि अगर एक्रोमेगाली और जाइगेंटिज्म को हम कंपेयर करें तो जाइगेंटिज्म में इंक्रीज इन लेंथ ऑफ द बोन है, जबकि एक्रोमेगाली में इंक्रीज इन लेंथ ऑफ द बोन नहीं है, बल्कि उसकी फर्दर थिकनेस है. एक्रोमेगाली इज कैरेक्टराइज्ड बाय वी आर सीइंग एनलार्जिंग द हैंड्स, फीट, स्कल, नोज एंड जॉ बोन. के जॉ के बोन है, नोज के बोन है, स्कल और फीट और हैंड जो है के बोन वो थिकन हो जाते हैं. तो लेट्स सी इन द डायग्राम यू कैन सी कि अब इस इंडिविजुअल के हाथ अगर आप देखें, द फिंगर्स दे आर आल्सो ऑफ नॉर्मल लेंथ बट दे आर मोर थिकर एज कंपेयर टू द नॉर्मल इंडिविजुअल. नोज को अगर आप इसके देखिए, जॉ बोन वगैरह को देखें तो द ओवरऑल जॉ बोन, नोज बोन, एंड बिसाइड दिस इफ वी टॉक अबाउट द थिकनिंग ऑफ द फिंगर and we are saying terminal point, so they are more thicker as compared to the normal individual, and such situation is called as acromegaly. Let's see. Then we are saying the next hormone which is secreted by the anterior pituitary after when we just talk about first the growth hormone. So then the next one is thyrotropin releasing factor. Thyrotropin releasing factor, it is released from the hypothalamus, and it stimulates the synthesis and release of the thyroid stimulating hormone from the anterior pituitary. And the thyroid stimulating hormone, it regulates the endocrine function of the thyroid gland. बच्चे अगर आप यहाँ पे देखें, if you see over here, first of all the hypothalamus, it is releasing what? That is thyrotropin releasing factor, which in turn stimulate another endocrine gland that is called as the anterior pituitary. So this effect is called as tropic effect. Then the anterior pituitary in turn is secreting thyroid stimulating hormone. And this thyroid stimulating hormone is then just moving towards the target side, which is called as the thyroid gland. It is stimulating the thyroid gland, and the thyroid gland in turn is producing what? Thyroxine, that is T3 and T4, that is triiodothyronin and tetraiodothyronin, that is basically thyroxine, which is very much important for the general growth, development and metabolism of the individual. We can say for the physical, sexual and mental development of an individual. G. Okay, let's see. Then after that, thyroid stimulating hormone regulate the endocrine function of the thyroid gland. Thyroid stimulating hormone release is regulated by negative feedback of the thyroxine acting on the hypothalamus and anterior pituitary. Okay, why over here I have just shown diagrammatically as well the type of relationship which is existing, that's called as negative feedback mechanism. The regulation of such type of mechanism is brought about by negative feedback mechanism. Why? Because if the level of thyroxine in the blood is decreasing, so there is increase in the secretion of thyrotropin releasing factor from the hypothalamus, which in turn will increase the secretion of the thyroid stimulating hormone from the anterior pituitary. And then it will also start the secretion of what? Thyroxine from the thyroid gland. So if you see over here, when the level of thyroxine it is increasing in the blood, so the secretion of thyrotropin releasing factor it is increasing. So that's why when one variable, that is thyroxine, is decreasing, so the other is increasing, that is called as thyrotropin releasing hormone. If students, if you see over here in negative feedback mechanism which we have done while in our very first chapter, तो उसमें हमने डिस्कस किया था कि नेगेटिव फीडबैक मैकेनिज्म वो है कि जिसमें एक वेरिएबल अगर कम होता है तो दूसरा बढ़ता है. इफ यू सी ओवर हियर, इसमें भी थायरोक्सिन का लेवल अगर ब्लड में कम है तो एज अ रिजल्ट हाइपोथैलेमस थायरोट्रोपिन रिलीजिंग फैक्टर की सिक्रीशन बढ़ा देगा, और इसी तरह एंटीरियर पिट्यूटरी भी थायराइड स्टिमुलेटिंग हार्मोन की सिक्रीशन बढ़ा देगी. तो दैट्स व्हाई अगर एक कम हो रहा है तो दूसरा बढ़ रहा है, एंड सच टाइप ऑफ रिलेशनशिप इज कॉल्ड एज नेगेटिव फीडबैक मैकेनिज्म, राइट? Okay. Then the third hormone which is secreted by the anterior pituitary is adrenocorticotropic hormone. Its secretion is stimulated by the adrenocorticotropic releasing factor from the hypothalamus. Again, adrenocorticotropic hormone, it acts on the adrenal cortex and stimulates the secretion of glucocorticoid, which we had discussed was a cortisol. And glucocorticoid, they are powerful medicines that fight inflammation and work with our immune system to treat wide range of health problems. And beside this, it's also concerned. Which thing is concerned? I mean, if you see the adrenocorticotropic hormone, so the adrenocorticotropic hormone, it acts on the adrenal cortex and stimulate the secretion of, first we are saying the glucocorticoid, and then the second one is androgen. So the glucocorticoid, which was also sort of cortisol, you can see over here we discuss it. Now the second hormone which it is secreting, that is androgen. Let's see. Androgen, they are crucial for male sexual and reproductive function. But androgen, it also affects the bone and muscle development and metabolism as well. As we are saying that adrenal gland, they are present both in male as well as in female. So that's why these hormones, they are also secreted while in male as well as in female. So in female, it's bringing about what? The development of muscular activity, if you see over here, while in male it's also concerned with the what androgen, they are also bring about the crucial for the sexual and reproductive function. Okay, next, that is the follicle stimulating hormone. If we see that beside the growth hormone and beside the previous one which we studied, that was the thyroid our thyrotropin releasing factor, which was basically stimulating the anterior pituitary for the secretion of thyroid stimulating hormone, and beside this the adrenocorticotropic hormone. We are saying that the anterior pituitary is also secreting the follicle stimulating hormone, FSH. FSH or follicle stimulating hormone is a gonadotroph. Its secretion is stimulated by gonadotropin releasing hormone from the hypothalamus again. So the factor for that is also released from the hypothalamus. Okay. In female, it stimulates the maturation of ovarian follicle. Ovarian follicle, these are the cells, follicle cells, which are present while within the ovary, ovarian follicles, and estrogen production. Ovarian follicle, they are cells which are present within the ovary, and the follicle cell, they are mainly concerned with the production of estrogen. Right. In male, it stimulates what? The development of germinal epithelium and sperm production in the testicle. Let's see. Okay, in male, what's the function? In male, its function is the development of germinal epithelium, while in female, that is basically the maturation of the ovarian follicle and then the production of a hormone, female sex hormone, which is called as estrogen. Let's see. Over here in the diagram, you can see that green color cells, which is just surrounding a central portion, that is called as what? These are called as the growing follicle cells. These follicle cells, they are present well within the ovary. They are bringing about what? They help to provide protection to the developing oocyte, which you see, this is the oocyte. And now these are, the oocyte is surrounded by several layers of the follicle cells, growing follicle cells. And these growing follicle cells, they are continuously producing what? That is the estrogen, which is female sex hormone. Let's see. In male, it's bringing about the development of germinal epithelium. If you see, this is a small section of the seminiferous tubule which we have opened up, and you can see like it is having different portion, basal lamina. If you see over here, this is the basal lamina. Beside this, spermatogonia it's having, which has been calibrated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 accordingly, which would be easy for you. Like the first one is germinal basal lamina, then the second one is spermatogonia, and the third one you can see spermatocytes, first order, then the fourth one spermatocyte, second order, then the fifth one, that is spermatid, and then the sixth one, if you see, that's mature spermatid, and the seventh and eighth one, the seventh one, if you see, this is the Sertoli cell. Sertoli cell, they are those cells which are also present while within the germinal epithelium, and its main function is that it helps while in the production of the sperm. And beside this, you can see a type of junction, and that is called as tight junction, which has been shown over here through an arrow. But anyhow, our main concern over here was to see the cell which are present while within the germinal epithelium. So these are the, we can say, basal lamina. The part is basal lamina. Beside this, the spermatogonia, which is giving rise to the mature sperm later on. And then beside this, the Sertoli cells are also present over here. So we can say that follicle stimulating hormone is bringing about the general growth and development of what? That is the germinal epithelium in man. Okay, next. Now luteinizing hormone or LH. Its secretion is controlled by gonadotropin releasing hormone. In female, its target site is ovary. It triggers or stimulates ovulation, that is the release of ova, and ovarian production of the estrogen and progesterone. Ovarian production mean that production by the ovary of estrogen and progesterone. But if you recall, we discussed that estrogen and progesterone is also produced by the placenta. So over here they are saying that it triggers, it stimulates the ovulation, that is the release of ova, and beside this the ovarian production of estrogen and progesterone. यानी वो estrogen और progesterone जो ovary secrete करते हैं उसको भी stimulate करते हैं. What is ovulation? That is the release of ova from the oocyte, from the ovary is called as ovulation. You can see over here like this is the oocyte which has been released by the ovary, so this is called as ovulation, right? Okay. It also causes luteinization, that is the converts rupture follicle cells to glandular structure, which is called corpus luteum, and maintains it. Acha ji. If you see over here, bache, we are saying, if you just recall, right, these are the follicle cell which is surrounding the oocyte. They are saying that when the oocyte would become mature, so it will come out from the it will come out from this, we are saying, covering of the follicle cells, which are Graafian follicle cells. So when it comes out, it means that the rupturing of these follicle cells will occur, na? So when these follicle cell, they get ruptured, so after that, the structure which is adapted, it is just like called as corpus luteum. यानी अगर आप इस डायग्राम में देखें कि ये हमारे पास, इफ यू सी ओवर हियर, दीज आर द फॉलिकल सेल्स, ये ग्रेफियन फॉलिकल सेल है, मेच्योर फॉलिकल सेल्स हैं जो इस oocyte को सराउंड कर रहे हैं, प्रोटेक्शन प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं, और दरमियान में ये एक फ्लूइड है जिसको हम कहते हैं फॉलिकुलर फ्लूइड जी। अब ये फ्लूइड जितना ये oocyte मेच्योर होगा तो फ्लूइड कंटेंट भी बढ़ेगा और आखिरकार ये इतना बढ़ जाएगा कि जब ये oocyte मेच्योर हो जाए तो ये स्ट्रक्चर रप्चर हो जाएगा, बर्स्ट हो जाएगा। बर्स्टिंग की वजह से oocyte रिलीज हो जाएगा और बाकी ये जो क्रश्ड स्ट्रक्चर रह जाता है, इस क्रश्ड स्ट्रक्चर के मास को अब हम कहते हैं कॉर्पस लूटियम, जिसका कलर थोड़ा सा येलोविश या ऑरेंज कलर का हो जाता है। अब इसको हम कहते हैं कॉर्पस लूटियम, यानी मास ऑफ क्रश सेल। अगर यहाँ पे आप देखें, दिस कॉर्पस लूटियम is what? That is again glandular in nature. This is then just starting to release the secretion of what? Another female sex hormone which is called as progesterone. तो अब अगर आप इसमें देखें कि जब ग्रेफियन फॉलिकल अभी रप्चर नहीं हुए थे, इन्होंने oocyte को रिलीज नहीं किया था, तो तब वो क्या सिक्रीट कर रहे थे? ईस्ट्रोजन। लेकिन जैसे oocyte रिलीज हो जाए, ओवुलेशन हो जाए, तो फिर उसके बाद जो क्रश्ड फॉलिकल सेल है, यू कैन सी दे हैव चेंज्ड देयर नेचर एंड नाउ दे हैव बिकम कॉर्पस लूटियम. And this corpus luteum, it is now have changed its nature and now it is starting the secretion of another female sex hormone which is called as progesterone, right? Okay. यहाँ पे अगर आप देखें, it also causes luteinization, that is the convert rupture follicle cell to a structure which is called as corpus luteum and maintains it as well. In male, luteinizing hormone, that was the function in female. Now what's the function in male? In male, luteinizing hormone is also known as interstitial cell stimulating hormone, ICSH. It promotes the testosterone production in the interstitial cells of the testes. When it increases the production of testosterone or promotes the production of testosterone, so testosterone, these are produced by another type of cell which are called as Leydig cells. As we know that Sertoli cell, they were helping while in the sperm maturation and beside the sperm production. So over here, testosterone, they are also just secreted by the Leydig cells, which are also present while in the testicle. Okay, during pregnancy, secretion of prolactin, it causes enlargement of the mammary gland. Now we are moving towards another type of hormone which is called as prolactin. So during pregnancy, secretion of the prolactin, it causes the enlargement of the mammary gland. Prolactin, it was also called as lactogenic hormone, and lactogenic hormone, they are basically doing what? They are bringing about the production of milk while in the mammary gland and prepare the milk for young one for lactation. It also inhibits the menstrual cycle in lactating women as well. Now, after that, we move towards the hormone which are secreted by the posterior pituitary. So the posterior pituitary or neurohypophysis, it's a direct extension from the hypothalamus. And secretion, it consists of oxytocin and antidiuretic hormone. These hormones, they are also called as neurohormone because they are produced by the hypothalamus and only stored and secreted by the posterior lobe of the pituitary. So these hormones, they are synthesized in the hypothalamus and travel down the stalk to be released in the posterior pituitary or neurohypophysis. The posterior pituitary is stored antidiuretic hormone, that is ADH or vasopressin and oxytocin. These hormones, they are released in response to the nerve impulses from the hypothalamus. Now, first of all, the diuresis, it means urine production, antidiuretic hormone. Antidiuretic hormone is any substance which inhibits urine formation. Okay, and osmoreceptors in the hypothalamus, it monitors or it regulates the solute concentration of the blood. ADH, it is also released when the solute concentration it increases as a result of water loss. So it acts on the kidney tubule, especially to the tubular portion of the nephron, that is the distal convoluted tubule and the collecting duct, distal convoluted tubule and collecting duct, even as well to enhance the water reabsorption. More water is reabsorbed and concentrated urine is produced. The blood volume it basically increases and solute concentration it become normal again. And we have done this type of relationship is also presenting the example of negative feedback mechanism. And again we have done this in detail while in our very first lecture. So if we want to further make your concept clear, you can just revise that particular lecture which was basically from our very first chapter. Then the next, that is basically oxytocin. The word oxytocin is oxytocin, childbirth. Oxytocin is released during childbirth and in nursing women as well. Stretching of the uterus is bringing about the stretching of the uterus and cervix during parturition or during childbirth, and a strong stimulus for the release of oxytocin. Again, we are saying that this we have also done in detail while in our previous chapter, and in that case when we were discussing the example of positive feedback mechanism, so we were saying that oxytocin, which is basically hormone secreted by the posterior pituitary, one of the stimulus for that is also the stretching of the uterus and cervix. So we were saying when the babies had during childbirth, when the babies had it touched the cervix, so as a result the contraction it occurred, and this contraction in turn is causing the secretion of the what hormone, that's oxytocin. So in that case both the variable they were increasing, that's why we were saying it's the example of positive feedback mechanism. Low level of progesterone in the blood to the end of the pregnancy and neural stimuli of the mother during childbirth also stimulate the release of oxytocin. During childbirth, it's released in waves and result in the labor contraction. That's the contraction of the uterus. In lactating women, sucking it causes the release of oxytocin. The let down reflex, also known as the that is milk ejection. The milk ejection. That is the milk ejection. That is also basically occurring just because of what we are saying, just because of this oxytocin. Okay, in short we can say oxytocin is having very important role while during childbirth. Besides this, they are saying that it's also playing very important role while in let down reflex of the the milk. And now these were some of the important function of the hormone which were released by the anterior pituitary, and after that these were some of the function which were basically discussed by the anterior pituitary as well as by the posterior pituitary. Now over here we will wind up our lecture, and till the next lecture, if do you have any problem or you have any questions, so you can text me. Till that, Allah Hafiz.